The sea was already open. Walls of water towered above us, alive, shaking, ready to collapse. I did not tell the people to pray. I shouted only one word. Run! The moment my foot touched the seabed, I knew we were standing where humans were never meant to stand. The ground was not mud. It was firm, unnaturally firm, as if the sea itself had been ordered to behave. The wind howled so violently it stole words from our mouths. People screamed, but their voices vanished into the roar. I turned my head slowly. On my left, a wall of water higher than any palace in Egypt, its surface trembling, veins of current racing through it like living muscle. On my right, the same impossible barrier, pressing inward, held back by something no eye could see. The sea was not calm. It was restrained. Every step echoed, thousands of feet pounding wet sand, sand that should have swallowed us whole, but did not. Mothers clutched children to their chests, not daring to look up. Elders leaned on strangers, each breath borrowed from fear. I smelled salt, cold, heavy. Fish swam beside us, their bodies flashing silver through the walls of water, as if even they were confused by the command holding their world apart. Someone screamed behind me. Another slipped. Hands reached out instantly. No one was left alone. But panic spread faster than we could run. The sea groaned above us, a deep, aching sound, like it wanted to return to its place. I felt it in my bones. This path was temporary. This mercy had a limit. I raised my staff, not high, not boldly, but tightly, as if gripping the only thread holding the world together. I did not pray out loud. I did not look back. I shouted with everything left in me. Keep moving! Because stopping meant drowning. Because hesitation meant death. Because faith, in that moment, was not belief. It was motion. Halfway through the path, faith began to crack. Someone slipped hard behind me. Their scream tore through the roar of the wind. The sound spread panic instantly. People stumbled, feet tangled. The pace slowed. And slowing down inside the sea was the most dangerous thing we could do. I heard it before I saw it. A deep, violent crack from above us. The wall of water on my left shuddered. Not gently, violently. The sea bent inward, pressing against the invisible command holding it back. Water bulged like a muscle under strain. People screamed. "It's closing! The sea is collapsing!" Fear surged like fire through dry grass. Some froze. Some dropped to their knees. Some tried to turn back. I spun around, lifting my staff instinctively, not because I knew what to do, but because obedience was all I had left. The wind screamed louder, sand cutting our faces, salt burning our eyes. Children cried. Elders gasped for breath. Strong men shook. I realized something terrifying in that moment. The miracle itself was testing us. Not before, not after. Inside it. I felt the sea pushing again, both sides now, as if it were breathing down on us. Water slammed against the barrier, spraying mist over the path. Cold drops hit my face. Real water, not imagination, not fear. The people saw it. Hope wavered. I shouted until my throat burned. "Do not stop! This path will not wait for you!" Hands reached down, pulling the fallen back to their feet. Strangers lifted strangers. Fear tried to divide us, but movement kept us alive. Above us, the sea thundered again, louder this time. I could feel the weight of it. Millions of tons of water being held back by a word spoken by God and trusted by trembling people. Every step forward felt like defiance, not against Pharaoh, against fear itself. I did not know how long the sea would hold. I only knew this. If we stopped believing with our feet, belief with our mouths would mean nothing. So I ran, and they ran with me. I heard them before I saw them. A sound that did not belong to water. Metal. Grinding. Hooves striking stone. Shouting. Sharp. Confident. Cruel. I turned, and my blood ran cold. Pharaoh's army had entered the sea. Torches burned along the corridor behind us, their flames reflecting wildly against the walls of water, turning the sea into fire and shadow. Chariots rolled where only moments ago death had waited for us. The people saw them. A wave of terror ripped through the crowd. "They're coming! They're inside the sea! We're trapped!" The miracle had become a battlefield. The soldiers laughed as they charged forward, their armor clanking, their horses snorting in confusion, but obeying the whip. They believed the sea had obeyed them too. They were wrong. The ground beneath their wheels began to change. At first, it was subtle, a drag, a resistance. Then one chariot lurched violently, a wheel jammed, a horse screamed. The laughter stopped. I watched confusion spread across their ranks. Men shouted orders, horses reared, wheels sank deeper into the seabed that had been solid for us. The sea knew the difference. The people around me were shaking. "If they catch us, Moses, what do we do?" I did not answer, because this part was not for me to control. The wind shifted again, harder now, more focused. The walls of water leaned inward once more, closer than ever. I felt it. The sea was waiting. Waiting for one thing only. Not Pharaoh's retreat. Not Egypt's fear. The last step of obedience. So I lifted my staff, not to close the sea, but to hold it open just a little longer. And I shouted, "Keep moving!" Because freedom was only a few steps ahead, and judgment was right behind us. Every step now felt counted. Not by us, by the sea. The wind dropped suddenly. Not calm, not peace. A pause. The worst kind. The walls of water stopped crashing, stopped shuddering. They leaned inward, silent, heavy, close. So close I could see shapes moving inside them, currents coiling like restrained beasts. The people slowed. I screamed for them to keep going, but fear had wrapped itself around their legs. Ahead of us, dry land, so close. Behind us, Egypt, closer. I heard chariots snapping apart, metal screaming as wheels tore free, horses crying out in terror. The army was no longer advancing. They were trapped. But the sea did not care who was righteous or who was cruel. It would fall on everyone when released. I counted heads as we moved, counted breaths, counted footsteps. One man stumbled at the edge of the path. I grabbed him with my free hand, dragging him forward. My staff felt heavier than ever, as if the sea itself were pulling on it. The walls leaned again, closer. Cold mist coated my face. Drops of water struck the ground at my feet. The miracle was slipping. I could feel it. The command holding the sea apart was straining, not because it was weak, but because it had waited long enough. A woman cried out as she reached dry land, then another, then another. The last families crossed. I stepped onto solid ground, and the sea waited. 1 heartbeat. 2. The wind returned, but reversed, pulling, calling the water home. I turned, raised my staff, my voice barely a whisper now. Now. The wind stopped. The walls collapsed. The sea returned with fury. Sound vanished. Then silence. I stood shaking on the far shore. Behind me, freedom. Before me, a future I had no map for. But I had seen enough. If God opens a path through the sea, do not stand and stare. Run.